A Wrinkle in Time. I read A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. The story takes place in multiple different locations, such as Earth and various solar systems. The story is about a family whose father disappeared and his two children and their friend go looking for him. The three children get help from three beings with special powers who can convert their molecular structure. The six venture off into the unknown. The adventure began when Mr. Murray was experimenting in his lab. Mr. Murray was trying to figure out tessering, which is a form of traveling through space faster than the speed of light. While tessering, he goes to what other planets call the dark planet, also known as Camazotz. 5 years after the disappearance of their father, Charles and Meg set off to find him. Meg and Charles were accompanied by Calvin, Mrs. Witch, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Whatsit. On their adventure, the first thing they ran into was a scary shadow figure that Mrs. Whatsit told them not to look away from. When they stopped to look at the shadow, the W's had told the children they could not go on with them. Instead, they could have gifts from two of the women. Mrs. Who gave Meg special glasses, and Mrs. Whatsit gave Calvin the gift of communication and sent the kids on their way. Once they made it to Camazotz, they met the man with red eyes, whom was under the control of it. It ended up hypnotizing Charles just as it did the man with red eyes. It had Charles lead Meg and Calvin to the chamber that held Meg's father. Meg was banging on the transparent wall when Charles told Meg that her father could not see nor hear her. Meg remembered that she had the glasses that she was gifted. Meg hoped that they would let her go through the wall to her father. The glasses did let her through. However, after she got in, she had to go into a column which her father was trapped in. Meg ultimately just kept running, and as soon as she got in, she spoke to him, but realized he couldn't see her. Meg put the glasses on Mr. Murray, and he walked out of the column, leaving Meg. She realized her father had left, but in that exact moment, Mr. Murray picked her up and escaped the enclosed box. Charles Wallace had taken Calvin, Meg, and Mr. Murray to it. Its main concern was Meg. It wanted to lure Meg in as it did Charles. Calvin and Mr. Murray grabbed Meg and tessered. While tessering, the scary shadow almost got Meg. Mr. Murray and Calvin tried to wake Meg up, but she was completely paralyzed. The planet they landed on had beasts. The beasts took Meg and gave Calvin and Mr. Murray a place to sleep. The beast that took Meg had to help her feel better because she almost died. Meg asked the beast what she should call her. The beast thought for a while, listening to Meg's thoughts. The beast said to call her Aunt Beast. The next morning, the W's came to tell Meg she had to go face it, and she did. Meg had to figure out what she had that it didn't. She finally saw that it was love. After a few moments of Meg saying she loves Charles Wallace, he snaps out of it and runs to Meg. Then they all go home and say goodbye to the W's, and nobody knows where they went. Author's purpose. In my opinion, the author's purpose is love is stronger than anything. Another one is that family comes before anything else in the world. Vocab words. Tangible. Tangible is used in The Wrinkle in Time as silence fell between them, as tangible as the dark tree shadows that fell across their laps, and that now seemed to rest upon them as heavily as though they. Tangible also means able to be felt by the senses, especially touch. Inexorable. Inexorable is used in The Wrinkle in Time as lying on the moving water, pulsing gently with swells, and feeling the gentle, inexorable tug of the moon. Inexorable means unable to please or persuade. Dais. Dais is used in The Wrinkle in Time. There was the brain, there was it, lying, pulsing, and quivering on the dais, soft and exposed and nauseating. Dais means a raised platform.